Welcome back. It's been nearly 2 years since the monks of Myanmar led the pro-democracy uprisings that rocked the country and caught the world's attention. For the international media, reporting events on the ground was near impossible because of the clampdown by the military authorities. But despite the government-orchestrated media paralysis, the demonstrations in Myanmar eventually became one of the most covered news events of the year. The driving forces behind that coverage were amateur video journalists who were out on the streets filming events as they happened. But now, even with the trial of the high-profile pro-democracy leader Aung San Suu Kyi, news from the country has again disappeared from the media, despite hosting a generation of technology-savvy and inspired citizen journalists willing to risk their lives to get us the pictures. The Listening Post's Meenakshi Ravi now on the citizen journalists of Myanmar.
Despite threats from the government, thousands of protesters returned to the streets for the 10th straight day.
They are very strong, they are very coward.
If Burma's illegitimate military leaders thought they could scare the people off the streets, they were wrong.
The pictures were shaky and grainy, but there was no denying their news value. The footage was from one of the most reclusive countries in the world, and for news audiences around the globe, the pictures were a revelation. The men behind the cameras were ordinary citizens, desperate to tell the story of Myanmar.
All the footage, practically, that you saw on CNN, Al Jazeera, BBC, all the big media, came from citizen journalists, Burmese inside the country, who were risking their lives, actually, to get you that footage.
Now, as the government of Myanmar cracks down, we've been getting images and information from the opposition network, the Democratic Voice of Burma.
All the broadcast media, radio, television, are controlled by the government 100%. So to reach a wider audience in the country, we need to broadcast.
Getting the footage out and on air was vital to create awareness of Myanmar's situation. And that's what propelled video journalist Joshua to film the 2007 uprising. The footage he filmed got him included on the military junta's blacklist, and he had to escape to Thailand. It's from there that he now coordinates a band of video journalists, or VJs, in Myanmar. He asked us not to film his face because it could put the operation and himself in danger. How important a role did you see the VJs who are on the ground in Myanmar? How important a role did you think they were playing?
Well, they are the key in sending the messages out to the international community because everything begins with their cameras. Without the people on the street with the cameras, there would not be a television station broadcasting the news to millions of people watching over the world.
As Joshua did his work, first on the streets of Myanmar and then from his office in Thailand, he caught the attention of Danish director Anders Ostergaard. While Joshua and his group of video journalists filmed and broadcast Myanmar's crisis, Anders Ostergaard filmed them and chronicled the challenges of their work.
The information and the pictures and the photos we're getting from iReported is crucial because it's telling the world what's going on.
The documentary was titled Burma VJ, and while he made the movie, Ostergaard saw what was most vital to the video journalism campaign.
Technology is everything in this respect, because the availability of small cameras, the availability of the internet to ordinary people means that there's suddenly 1,000 eyes out there, and that the regime ultimately cannot make sure that nobody is filming and nobody is uploading. You could say little brother is watching you. That's a new development.
But little brother doesn't have it easy in Myanmar. Getting the footage out of the country is a huge technological challenge.
Internet connection is really terrible in Burma. What we try to do is we split the footage into 5-second clips for the 3-minute stories and spread it to 3 or 4 messengers, and then they go to different cyber cafes and upload. We collect it in Bangkok and then we reconstruct these stories again, so it takes about 5 to 6 hours just to upload a 3-minute story.
The military junta soon realized that despite the poor internet connections in the country, the tenacious VJs were getting the shocking footage of the protests out to the world. So they pulled the plug.
The regime quite simply closed down the internet. When they feel that there's a situation they're nervous about, like a cyclone or an uprising, they have to look for other means of getting the footage out. And that can be eventually on an elephant's back through the jungle, literally.
Nowadays, we are coming to Thailand, cross the border, and flying to Bangkok directly from Burma to deliver the footage.
From Thailand, the footage traveled over 5,000 miles to the unlikely location of Oslo in Norway.
In Oslo, there's a satellite station in exile, if you like, which is the voice of the free Burma, with the free news. And what the VJs inside the country try to do is to pick up news stories, smuggle them out of the country, having them going to Norway, where they are broadcast back into Burma as news programs via satellite.
Nearly 20 million Burmese in the country are relying on our service to get independent news and information. So we realize, oh, we have a very important role to play in this movement. More people need more independent and biased news to make decisions for their own life or to participate in politics in a meaningful way. Now government is controlling politics by controlling the media. If they lose control over the media, they lose their power.
Yet, 2 years on, despite developments continuing within the country, such as the trial of pro-democracy leader Aung San Suu Kyi and numerous VJs on the ground there to cover it, the pictures have still faded from our television screens.
Without the millions of people on the streets, there will not be news on the international media. People need to do something to make Burma an issue. We believe that if the subject is really news, and we can still make pictures, then the world will want to see it.
Myanmar is only one of many countries whose fight for democracy is being documented by amateur video journalists who work in the absence of mainstream media presence or coverage.
It's important now for CNN to turn to social networking sites to get the video and get an idea of what is happening.
There's no doubt that the rise of the video journalist has upped the stakes in Myanmar, but the coverage needs to be widespread to make sure that it's worth the risks involved.
A lot of journalists were arrested and tortured, but at the same time, we are building a society that values their freedom of expression in Burma. We understand how to use media as a tool in building democratic society, so we all feel that we are contributing something to the country in democratic change.
More Global Village Voices now on Myanmar's citizen journalists.
It is very important, and for the video journalists to operate in Burma is very hard, very difficult, and it is so impossible to know if there are some undercover journalists from the dictator side, and if these video journalists got arrested, they could end up in prison for 20 years.
I think that video journalism in Burma today is just as important as it was during the Saffron Revolution. And the main reason is because Burma's dictator, Than Shwe, his goal is to close the doors on the people of Burma so that the world doesn't know what's happening there. And video journalism is one of the best ways to throw open those doors.
Because there's no official independent media in Burma, the videos that the VJ and other human rights and independent news media shoot are critical. It's not only to share information with the world, but also to inform people inside Burma via their satellite broadcasts about what is happening.
Finally, wherever you're watching this broadcast, a wedding and its rituals are pretty unchanging. But here's a video that's taken more than 8 million hits on the World Wide Web and might just give anyone planning a traditional church wedding some pause for thought. The wedding entrance of Jill Peterson and Kevin Hines in St. Paul, Minnesota was choreographed to Forever by Chris Brown and could give many happy couples some new ideas and certainly some new moves. It is our Internet Video of the Week. Richard Gisbert will be back next week, but from me, until next time, goodbye.